What up, what up, guys? This is Derek, Christian, fuck you. And greatest game insights of 2018, how you can kill it in 2019. Can you guys hear me well? If you can hear me well, could you enter your penis length in the comments here in millimeters, centimeters, inches, yards, miles, whatever's appropriate for your stature, please? All right, so a couple 100 inches, 6 inches on a good day. A lot of variance. There's a lot of variance and volatility for the math guys, but yeah, we seem to be on point. So, hey guys, yeah, a few little updates and announcements. This is our last bonus call, your official membership. We're going to start in January. I'm going to do the first official Big Dick Brotherhood pimping call 1 week from today, and I'll have to figure out the exact timing. But a week from today, we're going to work on the topics that you guys voted on. The winning topic for this month is fun interactions that make her pussy wet. So very charming. And, I'll have a well-prepared seminar for you guys and really break that down and help you understand that a lot better. That seemed to be the primary thing that a lot of guys are focused on. That's a real common one on boot camp, too. There's a lot of super smart guys. A lot of you guys have been on boot camp with me, and you've seen this phenomenon where, man, there's a lot of really smart guys that you're a fucking killer in some areas of your life. And, entitlements there in general across other contexts. And you go to the club and you're like, you intellectually believe, like, I am supposed to have a beautiful woman. I am supposed to have a lot of hot pussy. And then you're like, but I don't know how to fucking have fun. I can do math. I can do calculus. I could build a jet engine. I could build a rocket. But I don't know how to have fucking fun. So, no, absolutely we'll be on point with that. We're also going to reset all the voting. So let me talk to my tech homie here. Can you actually reset that while we're on the webinar here?
We'll do it right now.
Yeah, just delete all the previous voting stuff. And so you guys, today, while we're on the webinar, let him delete it first, give it a few minutes. But you can start suggest new topics, vote on the topics for the February programming. And I'll be super on point, make sure I can explain the shit in detail and really help you guys to get past those sticking points and blockages. This time about fun, making your pussy wet, and other time, whatever you guys vote on for February. A couple other little updates. Cool, look there. It's indicated to me that it's been reset. So, suggest new topics for next month and vote it up. A couple other updates quick is we put new badges out for on the forum. You can see the gold guys have new default icons. Now you can add whatever thing you want to. You can put whatever custom image that you might want to yourself. But there's a fucking dope default icon that we put on for the gold guys. Also added new badges for my boot camp assistants and my couple of most senior assistants, Graham and Travis and Cameron. Cameron's actually here with me, and he's going to be on this conference sharing his biggest insights from 2018, and most importantly, how you guys can apply that in 2019 to have the best fucking year of your life with women. And so I'm excited to have Cam with now. Also put new badges for the Knights tier guys, so you can see who the most serious and dedicated guys are from the Knights tiers. You see who the assistants are, etc., and it'll help you with your communication. Other bullet point is we added a new wingman forum, so you guys it's easier to make plans together, reach out to each other, get together in real life, and find a fucking dope-ass wingman. So that's going to be fucking sick. Something I want to do for you guys is totally free and awesome is I want to make sure that you're aware that Miami Summit is coming up in February. I believe starts February 17th. What's the dates?
17th to 23rd.
February 17th to 23rd. And if you've been on boot camp before, then you can come to Miami Summit totally for free. And in addition to that, I want to invite you for the Golds tier, Knights tier guys. I want to invite you to also bring a friend with you, also for free. So if you want to bring a friend to Miami Summit, all you got to do is hit me up. Just send me an email, Derek, D-E-R-E-K, D-E-R-E-K, at realsocialdynamics.com. Send me a brief email, and I'll forward it on to the support team, and they'll get your buddy added to my VIP guest list, totally free, just as a bonus for you guys. In addition to that, also we're going to do just like a meet and greet. It's only going to be for Derek Bootcamp alums, and me and my team we're going to meet with the Derek Bootcamp alums or Derek Bootcamp signups. And I just want to get you guys. I just want to hang out. Like it's not going to be an official speech or something. We're just going to hang out. I just want to hear like whatever story has been going on, the dope shit that's been going on in your life, and whatever else I can help you with. So I'd love to hear your success stories. I'd love to help you with any questions or whatnot in person and just hang out with you guys. And I'm going to get free drinks, just, snacks and stuff before we hit the club. So hang out for an hour or two, free beverages, snacks. It's going to be dope. So come to Miami Summit, totally free. You fucking love it. A lot of you guys have been there before. The Summit events is my favorite fucking time of the year. I love the Las Vegas Summit. We're in Las Vegas right now, New Year's week. So we're hitting up fucking Vegas right this moment. We've been out on boot camp the last couple nights, and the guys are having fucking great success. And I love Vegas so much. Miami is the other city for the Summit event in February. It's fucking cold everywhere else. So excited to be there. Ton of guys there. If you've been there, you already know it's dope. If you haven't, it's fucking free. Come, bring a friend. Bring a friend as my guest. Free drinks, free everything. Come hang out with us. What else we got? Jeff. I talked with Jeff from RSD on the last call. I mentioned that he and I chatted about bringing him on in February just to do like a bonus call with him and I together. So late February, Jeff and I are going to do a call with you guys, and that'd be something else cool if you could put just send me a DM or just better really would be a centralized. Somebody should open a centralized little chat group of what do you guys want to talk about with Jeff and I. And I'll just put a couple ideas in his head so he can make a couple notes in advance and we'll have whatever's going to be most useful for you. Beyond that, yeah, let's see what kind of questions we got in here. Mastermind with Cam. No, Cam hasn't done a mastermind with me. Cam's been my primary assistant this year. He's traveled all over hell with me, literally like every week for about the last 10 months. So I don't know, 40-ish boot camps. Cameron's been all around the world. We went to Europe a couple times, went to Australia, Asia, went everywhere, and all over the U.S. And Cam's a fucking champ. I'll put him on in just a sec here. But we never did a mastermind previously before. What's this? Impossible to change your picture. How do you change your picture? But you got insights on how do they change the photo on here?
It's at the top. Top menu, it's a profile.
Here, come tell them.
Yeah, you log into the members area. You go to the top menu. There's a little icon that says profile. Has a little guy on there. You click on that, and then you have to go to a website called Gravatar. Upload the picture there, and you're set. I'll actually put in a tutorial tomorrow, just a screenshot of how I do it to show you guys.
Cool, that'd be great. Set up a little tutorial for them so it's easy and super dope. What are your thoughts, Cam? What are a couple of, let's dig into the main theme here of like biggest insights from 2018. How can these guys have the best possible outcomes in 2019?
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on, guys? I know a lot of you have met me if you've been out on boot camp this year. For those of you who've not met me and don't know who I am like Derek said, I'm his lead assistant this year. I've been traveling with him since April, every single week, every single boot camp, somewhere in the 40s. I think I'm approaching 45 boot camps now, but I'm 28, and my background is I was a lot like most of you, actually. I mean, I grew up an introverted, intellectual kid in just the rural Midwest. Was always really, really competitive and just wanted to excel at whatever it was that I put my mind to. And early on, that was primarily academics and sports, specifically sports. That's really early on in my life where I had the most success. I really devoted myself to baseball from an early age, and at 18, ended up getting a baseball scholarship to go play for the University of Michigan. And that introduced me to a life where I had a social circle that was presented to me in a way that was, it didn't really involve me having to do much on my end to have a great social circle around me. I was, on a sports team at a major university. So had success with that and didn't have to put a lot of thought into my social life. at that stage in life. And then I, got out of college, and it was, kind of a shock. I was now in the real world and didn't have this social circle being presented to me in a somewhat fake fashion. And I found RSD at that point in time to try to correct this. And I made the mistake of dabbling. And I spent maybe 5 or 6 months watching all the YouTube videos and the digital products. And at that point, I made the mistake that a lot of guys do. And I got into a relationship with the best girl that I had met up until that point. And I stagnated, I would say, in my development for the next 2 or 2.5 years. But the competitive outlet had not really died. So I actually found another sport after baseball. I watched a documentary on Netflix about the #1 arm wrestler of all time. His name was John Brzenk. And after watching that documentary, I decided that this was something that I wanted to try. It seemed very much aligned with my strengths and was something that I thought was really cool. So I started to train for that in a similar way to the way that I'd been training for, training, if you want to call it that, for RSD. Just watched all the YouTube videos and found some guys in my local area to consistently meet up with. And over the course of maybe 6 months, I'd gotten to the point where I was relatively decent. I was at least placing in tournaments. I wasn't winning yet. And it was at that point that I look back and I thought to myself, well, I didn't excel in baseball by just watching YouTube videos and playing out in my backyard. I found the best coaches when I was a kid. I would go to baseball camps at a lot of the universities in my area, and I'm like, all right, well, I might as well apply the same line of thinking to arm wrestling too if I really want to be good at this. So I found a guy named Devin Larrett out in Ottawa, Canada, which was about 8 hours from where I lived at the time, and I connected with him on social media. And even though he had, I think, 40 or 50,000 followers at that point in time, he responded to me and said to go ahead and head out to Ottawa whenever I got the chance, and to work with him and his team. So I took him up on that offer, and as often as I could, which at the time was about once every 3 months, I made that 8-hour drive out to Ottawa, train with his team, and sure enough, I would come back to Michigan and I would have all these insights into the little nuances of arm wrestling. It came down to hand position, or a way of training, or little advantages you can get on the setup, or just feeling pressures from the other guy's hand to know which sort of technique he was going to be using on you prior to the match even beginning. And just so many things, just viewing the sport in so much higher of a resolution than I had back in Michigan, working with guys who were much more amateur in their approach to developing the skill set. And right when I came back, I was now excelling. I won my first tournament. I finally had a good idea of how to train properly, etc. And I spent the next 12 weeks after getting back for my first time with Devin, developing everything that he had taught me, just executing as much as I could so that I could go back in 12 weeks and not feel disappointed in myself, and be able to be prideful in the progress that I'd made. So I would get back with Devin, and he would enlighten me to another level. I would go deeper down the rabbit hole, learn more and more about the sport. And it just seemed like it was never ending how much you could learn about the sport. And I would be coming back each time and excelling more. Now I wasn't just winning the local tournaments. I'd be winning, a statewide tournament, or even a regional tournament, a tournament that would be held for like all the Great Lakes region, until finally about 2.5 or 3 years after I began arm wrestling, I won my first national championship in my weight class. And, from there, I was invited to be the featured athlete on an episode of American Muscle, which was a reality series on the Discovery Channel back a couple of years ago. And it ended up being just an amazing experience, and something that I would have never been able to accomplish, and never have that genuine sense of contentment in accomplishing something like that without that sort of focus, where you seek out a mentor to guide you through the process and hold you accountable to your execution. And right at the end of this, where I had won this national title, I was getting out of the relationship that I'd gotten into right at the end of school. And I thought to myself, man, my social life, my dating life, this is going to be something that is important to me for literally the rest of my life. It's not something to be flippant about. It's something that should really, it requires a serious focus. And that if I've done that with baseball and with arm wrestling, why am I not following the same line of thinking with my development in my dating and social life? So I knew that RSD had been really helpful to me back several years before. So I decided this time I was actually going to go out in person. I signed up for World Summit, went out there and heard all the guys speak. And I was immediately struck by Derek, who I had not had much exposure to because he didn't, at the time, he didn't have a YouTube channel, and there was very little content available out there to hear what his mindset really was, what he had accomplished in his life, and to get the feeling that he was the right person for me to be working with. So after hearing him speak at Summit, I was immediately attracted to his worldview, his no nonsense way of being, the relentless focus on execution. And I loved something that I'd heard in one of his talks, that, success is nothing more than an idea and some execution. And I thought that was so brilliant. And I thought about that idea for a really long time. And it's like, man, that's just so consistent with the experiences that I've had in life, anything that I've accomplished to a high level. It started with an idea that I craft as well as I possibly could, and then just figuring out a way to refine that vision with the proper mentors, and then having those mentors to guide me along the way and hold me accountable to the achievement of that goal. And at the end of that summit, I immediately got involved with Derek. I was out on my first boot camp with him for the New Year's boot camp about 4 months later, and on that boot camp, I decided I was going to come in having really applied myself for that full 4 months, just as well as I possibly could have, so that I showed up and was able to show Derek that I was very serious about this skill set. I wasn't going to be the guy who saw him 4 months ago and showed up and haven't been going out at all, haven't thought about any of the questions that he raised during his talk, and just showed up like completely ignorant. So I consumed every bit of content that I possibly could that Derek had. I watched all of his masterminds, and I really went to town on answering the question, what sort of man am I? And the other questions that he asked, what sort of life do I want to live, and who's the right sort of companion for that life? And I'll touch more on those in a little bit, because actually the way that I went about answering those questions were some of my biggest epiphanies in 2018. I put just an immense amount of time into answering those questions. But back to my story, I was out on my first boot camp with Derek, and I'd shown up. I'd been going out probably 5 days a week, every single week for the, possibly even 6, every single week for the last 4 months. I had been consuming all the YouTube videos, all the digital products, etc. And I would say that I came in not a complete newbie, but there were so many things that I knew that I needed to learn. So night one, just as Derek explains, you go out and he gets a feel for what your background is, where you currently are in your life, what your long-term goals are, and just based on your experiences up until that point, what seemed to be your biggest sticking points, what seemed to be your biggest blind spots, what is it that's holding you back from having the elite sort of dating life and social life that you really want. And then night two, he gives you all of the insights that he has, or at least a few, the biggest bullet points that you can immediately apply to get yourself on the right track. And for me, he would say, like, dude, it's very clear that you're an executor. You've been going out a lot, and that's apparent. But despite the fact that you're great at taking action, I see a dichotomy in the approaches that you have. I see some that are going really well, and some that are just executed on just terribly. And the biggest difference is that in the ones that are going really well, it seems that you keep in mind, or this might be something that you're realizing subconsciously, but it seems that you are putting into action the idea that the currency of the nightclub is emotions. It's figuring out how the girl is, or why the girl's there, and what sort of emotions she actually wants to be feeling, and then making sure that you're the sort of guy who's experiencing those emotions yourself. I mean, ask yourself, what are the 3 primary negative emotions that humans experience that are meant to repel those people from whatever it is that they're encountering? And those would be anger, anxiety, and depression. And so first he said, well, what's as far away as you can get from anger as possible? What's the opposite? He said, well, that's the guy who's having fun. He's out having a genuinely good time with his friends. He's not letting little petty things bother him. And he's just able to really take in everything that the environment has to offer and enjoy it. And what about the guy who's as far away from anxiety as possible? What's the opposite of that? Well, it's the guy who's completely carefree and relaxed and loose in the environment. And he doesn't seem to be having some sort of particular outcome in mind, that if he doesn't get it, that it's catastrophic. He's just relaxed and carefree and having fun. And what about lastly, what about the guy who's as far away from depression as possible? What is that guy's like? What is his demeanor? How is he carrying himself in the club? Well, that's the guy who's filled with energy and life and vitality. And when you combine all three of these emotions, you're somebody who's coming across with a lot of vitality, and you're coming across carefree and relaxed, and you're having a good time. You're going to be naturally charismatic to the girl. You're embodying all of the emotions that she wants to be embodying herself. And if you get into an interaction with her, not only are you going to be received very well on the open, most likely, while being in this state, but if you spend 10, 15, or 20 minutes in that girl's presence, because humans have mirror neurons, and we tend to gravitate towards the state of the person who has the strongest frame. So if you have a strong frame and you're coming across with a state that's filled with relaxation and fun and vitality, the next thing you know, the girl's going to be feeling that exact same way. She's going to just love being around you, and she's going to be very enticed to continue the set. So that was just a huge revelation for me, getting an idea very systematically of what goes into at least the beginning of a great set. So I left that first boot camp with the ability to go out, have a game plan in mind of what I'm really working on, focusing on in terms of developing my conversational skills and just my ability to be captivating and engaging in a nightclub or a bar sort of setting. And following the next 2 or 3 months, I was at a point where I was very consistently still going out, pulling much more often than before, but I still had sticking points. I mean, again, at this point, I was only 5 months, 6 months into my development. And coming back out on boot camp number 2, Derek immediately pointed out that it was very clear that I was a guy who had been taking a lot of action and had developed a lot in terms of my ability to get into set, to be in the right state of mind, to not be silent and getting in my head and foregoing approaching, but actually being out there and consistently taking action. But what he noticed is I would get to that 20-minute point, 20, 25, it varies a little bit. And I would have buy-in from the girl, but I didn't have the right idea of how to lead that interaction to the point where we would be leaving the club together that night. I wasn't getting the sort of buy-in that allows that girl to feel relaxed and safe enough with you that you're the sort of guy that she's just delighted to be leaving the club with that night, and her friends as well, because like Derek will tell you, the friends are going to be an obstacle a very large percentage of the time. So what he taught me, how I could overcome this, was to imagine that I was out with a girl that I've been dating already for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Just, you're still in that fresh phase of the relationship. This girl is just completely infatuated with you. She loves you, but you already know how the night's going to end. You know that you're going to end up back at her place. She's going to end up back at your place, and you're going to end up having sex because that's what you've been doing with this girl for the last month. And there's just no doubt in your mind that's the way it's going to end. And to put yourself into that same state of mind in the club when you're with this girl who you've been talking to for the last 20 minutes, she could have left at any point. She didn't, because she's attracted to you. She's into you. She wants to continue getting to know you. How do you take it from the point that, okay, I have this girl who's very happy to potentially see me in the future, very happy to give me her Instagram or Snapchat or her phone number, to the sort of girl that's walking out the door hand in hand with you in another 20 minutes, and that the friends are actually encouraging, the friends are endorsing you as that guy. And if you just think to yourself, all right, if this is the girl that I was already dating, how would I grab her by the hand and pull her to come meet my friends? Or how would I walk over and introduce myself to her friends if I was the guy that she'd been dating for the last month? How would I move her from one side of the bar to the other end of the bar? How would I speak to her if I was saying, you know what, I'm probably going to be getting out of here in like 20 minutes and be planning the rest of our night together? How would I do that if I knew she was coming with me? And as soon as I got into that state of mind and treated the interactions like that, it was amazing, the difference. It was the biggest epiphany that I'd ever had in game, in my development with the skill set. It turned into me pulling that night. And then in the 6 weeks following that second boot camp, I went out, multiple times every single week. I was out 16 times over the next 6 weeks, and was just pulling left and right. Ended up pulling 15 out of 16 of those nights out, closed 12 out of the 15, had my first threesome in that stretch. And it was just a completely new dating life for me. And it didn't feel like I was doing things that much differently. It was just kind of like he had systematically pointed out what my absolute best nights out that I was ever having. Because there were nights that I would, the stars would align properly. And that was the way that I'd come across. I'd gotten into that state of mind, and for whatever reason, I was able to get the girl, convey my personality in a way that got the girl to feel as though she was already already dating me, and I would walk out the door with her hand in hand. But now I was at a point where I could very consistently do this. And after, not much time, after, like I said, 6 weeks, I went out. I ended up coming back out, meeting up with Derek, and he's been having me around as an assistant instructor ever since. And it's been just an amazing experience. And I really don't think that there's any way that I could have been spending my time over the last 10 months that would have been more effective. I mean, like I said, in any sort of success that I've had in life at all, whether it was baseball, academics, arm wrestling, this skill set, finding a mentor who can guide you through that process and who that you genuinely respect, and that will allow you to feel as though you're accountable to them, that you're somebody who really needs to be taking action, and that you actually have that positive sort of pressure on you to not be fucking up, to be the guy who's going to go out there and consistently take action. And that's exactly what Derek and everybody that I've met through this, everybody who's a member of the Brotherhood that I've met so far has provided me with. And it's been just foundational to my development over the last year. But,
yeah, sweet, man. I remember when you came on your first boot camp, like, so many things are going right in your life, and it's a typical boot camp story. But there's a ton of our clients and most of the Brotherhood guys. You guys got great things going on in your life already, and things that you are proud of, and rightfully so, that you should be proud of. That you're already winners, and you're just trying to learn a different skill set in a different area that you don't have enough experience with yet. And the couple things that I think about what's going to help you have the best fucking outcomes in 2019, dude. All I think about is like, having good information and executing on it. You have to have a source of information that you trust, that that information is correct, and that gives you the confidence. Like, oh, if I just take action and go down this path, I will have that type of an outcome. I have your version of that type of an outcome. And the old school pickup shit that we did 15 years ago, which was the definition of embarrassing and humiliating and frankly dumb parts of it. It's just like there's no amount of like magic tricks and tarot cards and painting your nails and putting a top hat on a midget or some shit. Like it was just the most retarded shit ever. None of that shit. You can't polish a turd, bro. It's like you can't polish a turd. That you can't take something that has no value and you try to shine it up or something and present it that way. So if you're a guy who's a loser and dedicated to staying a loser, maybe he should fucking get a tattoo on his face or a fucking bull ring in his nose or in his butt cheek or some shit, or some differentiation strategy that'll help him get the a like kind loser freak that might be appropriate for him. Yeah, cool, I guess, if that's what you're into. But for a similar amount of effort, man, you could have a tremendously better life. And I know the vast majority of you guys have chosen that path, and I love this shit. I'm super excited about the content and the things we get to work on in 2019 together. But I really get your focus is I could think of like flashier shit to say that'll sound really cool for you guys, but the shortcut, the tip, trick, or tactic, the real shortcut of like how do you get results, the fastest, quickest, most reliable way possible is like, don't just accept that, like, there is no shortcut. The shortcut is like, is acceptance that, this is a skill set. It's just a skill set. And if I want to master that skill set, I have to have the right knowledge and I have to go execute on that knowledge. And, you guys are already executors in many areas of your life, but when I see some of these posts on the forum of like, I want to go out once or twice a week or some shit, or like, what the fuck is that? Like, do you get to be like a national champion athlete because like you went to the gym like once or twice a week when it's convenient? Is that the plan? Is that effective?
No, man. I mean, there's so much competition in anything that you're going to do if you're trying to get to an elite level with it. I mean, it would just be the most arrogant thing in the world to imagine that you're so much different than everyone else that you're not going to have to put in the time, effort, energy, and focus and proper execution into developing that skill set to achieve that success. It's not going to happen by accident, and it does not matter what it is. There's always going to be not even just somebody, but many people out there who are doing all of those things to a certain extent. And if you want to be among them or at the top of that group, you're gonna have to be doing all those things as well or better than they are.
Yeah, I mean, something I thought of a lot recently, the last couple of months, is that, what some people think is an obstacle. They're like, oh, the friends took the girl away from me, or some dude came into my set, or all these little things that you perceive as an obstacle. Like, I'm not trying to play semantics games, but it would be tremendously to your benefit to think about that differently and reframe that as an opportunity in your mind. It's not an obstacle; it's a fucking opportunity for you to like demonstrate your brilliance, demonstrate your passion, demonstrate your ingenuity, demonstrate your genius to overcome those little scenarios and push through and get whatever fucking reward that you were looking for. Get whatever, whether the biggest reward you'll get, by the way, it's not a fucking girl. The biggest reward you'll get is fucking self-esteem. The biggest fucking reward you'll get from like pushing through those obstacles is you'd be like, oh, I'm now prepared. I'm now competent, and I have an additional reference experience of me overcoming a difficult situation, and I'm now better prepared to tolerate even more difficult situations in the future and have a much higher probability of overcoming those as well. And I really want to encourage you guys. I could say something fucking, a lot more cheery tonight, but I really, really want to encourage you guys to think deeply about, what results do you really want to have? What do you want your outcomes to actually be like in 2019? And like, move towards the obstacle, move towards what, you think is a little painful or uncomfortable or inconvenient. Like, move towards that obstacle, conquer your fucking obstacles, most of this is just psychological, man. Like, if you're going out, for those of you that have been on boot camp, like, pretty well what to do. You have a pretty good intellectual model of what to do. And I mean, that's for the worst guys that came on boot camp, there's a lot of guys came on boot camp, come on one boot camp and you're a fucking killer and you've done tremendously well. But if you went out and if you did half of the shit that we talked about on your boot camp, you would have a very good result. If you just simply did that consistently, you wouldn't need to know anything else. You would get a very good result just doing that. And don't try to look for a shortcut. Don't try to fucking, I'll just find a tip or trick or tactic. But, yeah, of course, like, use your fucking brain to find the most efficient path possible. But, I've looked at thousands of guys live. I've trained the vast majority of the RSD instructors, in the whole history of the company. I've influenced every one of them that didn't directly train or wasn't their primary mentor. The guys that get results consistently, those are guys that they just accept, like, all right, this is, like going to the gym, like you learning a musical instrument, like learning a skill set in a sport. It's just another skill set. And, you got to practice. Any of you that are a good athlete, any of you that have any musical talent, when men that are talented, or humans that are talented with with music, you're like, oh yeah, I had to practice, 5 days a week, practice 7 days. If you got a tiger mom, you practice 7 days a week. And that's how it is, and that's how you get to be fucking a high level talent. And, in my formative years in pickup, I was going out, 5.5 days a week on average for years, 5 to 6 days a week for years. And that's just how it is. If you're not willing to do that, it doesn't have to be that extreme. I've said this before. Like, if you got a career and good shit going on in your life, oh, cool, man. You got to go out for 3 nights a week, then minimum 3 nights a week out, 5 sets a day on those other 4 days a week. So you keep some social momentum every day. So when you get to the club and the training grounds, you're in good shape for it. And those guys are fucking winners. The guys that do that, you have consistent results. If you think you're going to go out once or twice a week and have some spectacular outcome, I'd agree with Cameron's comment. Like, it's the epitome of delusion, the epitome of narcissism to think that, someone is so special. You're so fucking unique and special that, Owen had to go out for fucking 5, 6, 7 days a week for years. Derek had to go out for 5, 6, 7 days a week for years, etc., to get those skills. And you're going to fucking just, you're going to go out once or twice a week when you feel like it and get similar or better results. That'll never happen. It'll never happen. And, Cameron, he's been going out, I don't know, 4 days a week or so for throughout the year, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, touching on what Derek is saying, you're not going to accomplish anything that's that's great, anything that's exceptional, meaning that you're the exception if you're doing what everybody else is doing, which is not consistently going out, not consistently working on whatever skill set that it is that you're working on developing. And the end result is, yes, you're going to have an enhanced skill set when it comes to your dating and social life. You're going to be doing better in your career or academically or with whatever sports or instrument or whatever skill set that is you're developing if you're consistently taking action. But something else that comes with this is the self-esteem, as Derek had mentioned before. And I think this is a topic that cannot be underestimated. That this is so huge, and it's not some like woo-woo bullshit where you talk yourself into believing in yourself and having a high self-belief and having belief in your self-efficacy when you haven't done anything. It's like, no, that comes from setting some sort of ambitious goal that's very difficult to accomplish, going out and working towards the accomplishment of it and actually accomplishing it. You know what happens after you've done that once? You think, you know what, I can probably do that again. And then you go out and you do it again. And the next thing you know, you're thinking much bigger. You're like, what is it that I really want to do with my life? Because I know that if I have been able to set my mind to this, execute, have an idea that's very well crafted, and then have the accountability to go out and not mess up and be executing consistently. And you realize you can do that with realistically, as long as you're being realistic, pretty much anything out there that you would want to do. And I think that this leads into the topic of, what sort of man am I? What sort of life do I want to live? Question that Derek has everybody ask on boot camp or in VIP tour. And this was something that I took very, very seriously. I thought to myself, you know what? I've started to realize that this whole quote unquote, pickup game, success with women, whatever you want to call it, it's not about developing a skill set that leads to you learning these tips, tricks, and tactics. And now you're going to be successful within this narrow domain. Within a nightclub, you can go out and leave with a girl. It's like, no. The reason that developing these skills allow you to have success within that domain, you're going to be the sort of guy who can go out to a nightclub or into a bar and attract girls at to a much greater extent than you were before. But why is it? Why are you now able to do that? It's like, well, you've really figured out what it is fundamentally that women are attracted to. What, evolutionarily speaking, they have been programmed over, depending on whether you're just looking at it from the human perspective or just from a mammalian perspective, but it goes back hundreds of thousands, or if not millions of years. And that's what this really is. It's figuring out from an evolutionary psychological perspective, what is it that you need to work towards becoming as a guy in order to have the success within this sort of setting. And the thought experiment that I've come up with over the past year or so of being with Derek, because I'll be out on boot camp and we'll have all the guys that we're meeting before going out, and I'll be thinking to myself, all right, this guy is going to likely have XYZ strengths and XYZ relative weaknesses, and he's probably going to need to focus on this tonight. And I'll try to form that mental model. And every once in a while, you'll get a guy on program where you're just like, this guy is just a killer. Like, I know that he's probably going to do fairly well tonight, but even if he doesn't do well tonight, that if he comes out on another boot camp in a few months, he's just going to be nailing all of this, and he's just going to be killing it. And then you got the other guys who show up on program, and even if they've been within the pickup community for multiple years, you can just kind of tell that this is the sort of guy who's just not going to follow through. And I don't really have as much. I'm obviously going to give everything that I can to all the guys on a boot camp, but you can just kind of tell, like, all right, dude, if you don't really step it up and transform your attitude or your philosophy towards your development in this, you're not going to be good at this, just like you probably haven't gotten very good results in other areas of your life. So really the thought experiment, this led to me creating, or I guess it just kind of naturally evolved in my mind. It was this, like, imagine you have a collection of just, like, let's just for the sake of this argument, it'll make sense by the end, but let's say you had like 168,000 people. And again, this will make sense why I'm choosing these numbers in a minute. Let's say you had 168,000 people, and you were organized in a way that it was all just adult men. So guys between let's say between 21 and 40 within this group. And you were given some time, maybe a week, to get to know kind of the guys who are in your general vicinity. Obviously, you're not going to get to know this entire group, but little groups or factions or coalitions within this large group of people are going to start to form. And after 1 week, you are offered this question. This is what you have to do. You need to, when you're presented with a guy, answer the question of whether you would want to be backing this guy. If he was given some sort of test of competence, you might be like, what do you mean by that? It could be literally anything. You have no idea what's going to be thrown at you. It could be something related to academic success, career success, sports success. All you know is that it's going to require some sort of mental or physical competence, the ability to overcome some sort of problem or obstacle that is thrown at you. And you're a team in that you're backing him, but he's the one who has to be overcoming these obstacles. He's the one who's leading this little group of the two of you through this, and you have no idea what's going to be thrown at you. All you know is that it's either going to be this guy or it's not. You can give him the thumbs up or the red light. And basically, at the end of this, each iteration, we're going to do 100 iterations of this, and for the number of guys who have had the fewest number of people within that original sample of 168,000, you're gonna remove 5%. So 0.95, 95% move on each iteration. 5% eliminated. The bottom 5%, nobody thought this guy would be worthy of backing. You knew if whatever obstacle was thrown at him, he was probably gonna fuck it up. Like not gonna be backing him. I don't have faith that he's gonna follow through.
To the furnace, genocide.
Yes, exactly.
Genocide.
Exactly.
Yes.
So let's say we ran this thought experiment for 100 iterations. We got rid of the bottom 5%. So all you had to do was just not be in the group. You just had to not be the guy who was 1 out of 20 type of a failure. Your incompetence level was at least top 95%. Not really that difficult, but as more and more iterations occur, it becomes progressively more difficult, to the point that if you're left after 100 iterations of this game, you're 1 out of 168. So 0.95 to the 100th power, it's somewhere between 1 out of 168, 1 out of 169. And then I ask myself, like,
1,000. 168,000.
Oh yeah, out of 168,000. So you're left with exactly 1,000 people. So with this thought experiment, I ask myself, what are the sorts of people that I would have a lot of belief would make it through 100 iterations of this? What sort of attributes do they have? I mean, obviously they're people who the group around them has a lot of faith in their ability to be competent with whatever it is that's thrown at them. And then I also ask myself, over the last 100,000 years or so, what have women been doing? They've been encountering guys, and they've been asking themselves, all right, if I have to rely on this guy's ability to encounter and overcome whatever obstacle it is that's thrown at us, it could be some neighboring tribe that's attacking us. It could be his ability to go out and find us food or provide us with shelter, or whatever issue it is that is presented with us that could be the difference between life and death. How sure am I that this is the guy who's going to figure it out and allow us to flourish and allow whatever kids I end up having to flourish? And that is the environment in which women evolve. So that's what they're currently looking for to this day, even if realistically that's not the environment that they're living in. That's the way that they're programmed to respond to a guy. So I thought to myself, all right, who are these guys that I encounter who I just know you don't want to be competing with this guy? If you do, then you're going to have a rough time, because this guy is in to win. It does not matter what it is. When he puts his mind to it, he's going to figure out how to create the best plan that's just the most strategic, and he's going to execute on it relentlessly, to the point that if you're going to be battling this guy, you're going to be much more likely to want him on your team as opposed to an opposing team. And I realized that there's no difference, zero difference, between answering this question and figuring out how you should be developing yourself for success with women, success in the business world, success with your finances, success within a sporting event, anything. You want to be the person who all you know is that when chaos is thrown your way, you're going to figure out a way to overcome that and be successful. And then find the sorts of people who have proven to be these types of people and emulate them. I find that as admirable as anything else on earth when I encounter people who it just seems like it doesn't matter what this guy is, what's thrown at this guy, he figures out a way to win. And that's what I saw in Derek. That was one of the reasons that I wanted to associate with him so closely. And that's what I see in a number of thinkers out there. And this actually leads into the question that I said was so important to answer, which is what sort of what type of man am I? And I guess the real important question that's housed within that question is, what is it that you admire and what is it that you value? Because they're really the same thing. If you think about what is admiration from an emotional perspective, it's a visceral compulsion to emulate. And you know what's meant by that. So, well, when you witness something that you admire, what the emotional response that you're going to experience is, for some reason, on a gut level, my subconscious is telling me I need to be more like that. When you see somebody you admire, you want to be more like it. When you see somebody that you don't admire, when you have somebody you have contempt for, you want to be distancing yourself from that. And I would say that's the opposite. That's important to pay attention to also. But for me, to answer this question, I decided, all right, well, I'm somebody who's been just reading and consuming content voraciously for years, and I'm going to pay really, really close attention to those people that I come across who, when they speak, when they write, when they do their thing, whatever it is that they do, I am struck with this emotion that tells me, if I live my life in a way that moved me towards being more like that, then I'm living my life the right way. I would have more admiration for myself if I was able to become more like that. And what I did was I compiled a huge list. You know, I had over 50 names on that list of people who I would describe as being like that. And then I thought really carefully about who the top 5 or the top 10 were. And this was just an idea that I had along the way that I would recommend doing this, but this worked for me specifically, just given the sorts of people that were really fascinating to me. But I started a completely new Twitter account, actually. And what I did was I compiled those 5 to 10 people. I think I had 6 names on there. Started with Peter Thiel, Jordan Peterson, Eric Weinstein, Jonathan Haidt, Robert Greene, Ryan Holiday, and a few others who I just really, really admired. I thought they were doing great work, and just whenever they spoke, I thought they were really aligned with reality and it made a lot of sense. And then what I would do is I would look for people who all 6 or all 8 of the people that I had collected on this new Twitter account, all of them were following. And then I made sure the reason they were following the person is because they seemed to endorse what the person was saying. And then I would add the person who was followed by 7 out of 7 of them. And then I would get to the point where I would have 10 or 11 people on this list. And then I would look for the people who all 11 of them followed. And sooner or later, I would get to the point where it's like, all right, there's nobody who all 12 or 13 of these people follow, but there are people who 11 out of 13 of them follow. I would add them to the list. And then I would compile this list up higher and higher and higher. And this allowed me to find people who I would never have otherwise been able to find. It allowed me to find books that were somewhat obscure within domains that I was interested in, but didn't really have a very clear insight into how to distill the absolute best information from within this subject or within this field. And then I asked myself that question again: who are the top 5? Now that I've had more experience, more insight into these people. And once I really distilled all this information and found those 5 people that I resonated with the most, I asked myself, all right, what is common among all 5 of these people? Why is it? What is it that they're doing? What is it that they're embodying that I'm admiring the most? What sort of values is it that they have that I want to end up developing myself? And basically the answer to that question came down to, I want to be somebody who is able to help guys in the way that Derek currently is. And I want to be able to do it in a creative and a way that takes into account my ingenuity. And that was really the path that I set down within 2018, and I'm working to execute on it. And I know that I would have never been able to come up with this sort of perspective on how to answer this question. I would have never thought about it in this way if I wouldn't have gotten involved with RSD and Derek in particular to begin with. And I definitely would not have been anywhere near the level of execution that I have been, because I wouldn't have had the accountability of associating with somebody who I genuinely respect and take pride in feeling as though I'm coming back to them in regular intervals, having made a lot of progress. So that's the way that I answered that question. I would encourage everybody to go out there and answer it. You can follow that. You can follow that process that I went through, or answer it in your own way. But that was a way that works very well for me. And I think that really getting an idea of who it is that you admire the most and who it is that you want to be, that's the only way. Now, remember what we were saying. That's the only way that you're ever going to become that person. It's not going to happen arbitrarily. And anything that's worth doing, there are a lot of other people who figured out that it's worth doing, and there's somebody else out there who's formulating the plan in a more strategic way, in a way that makes more sense, in a way that's more effective. And there's somebody out there who's executing better, who's taking more action more often, and is working with mentors. And if you're serious about accomplishing that and you're not doing those things, then you're really messing up, and you need to be finding those sorts of mentors. I mean, ask yourself, what sort of person is it that you want to be at the end of your life? You know, like for me, 28, so maybe I'll look 40 years down the road. I'm sure that I'll live beyond 68, but at 68, you're pretty much done in your life what it is you're going to do. Like, you know, at that point, you can reflect and say, well, I guess this is how it turned out. And when I really ask myself, what is it that I want to be able to say that I've accomplished? Who is it that I want to be able to say that I am? And what am I going to be most content with when I view the past? What am I going to feel the best with in the present? And what's going to allow me to have the most optimism for the remaining years that are left in my life? At that point, I can be set in terms of just feeling great from all perspectives. And once I really have that well-crafted vision, cut that in half and say, all right, well, in 20 years, where do I need to be to make sure that I'm on the proper trajectory to get there where I want to be in 40 years? And then once I spend a little bit of time crafting that mental imagery, ask myself the same thing for 10 years. Where do I need to be in 10 years to make sure I'm on that proper trajectory? Then do the same thing for 5, and then for all the years between 1 and 5, so 4, 3, 2, 1, and then break down the year into quarters. You know, if that's my end of the year goal, it's going to allow me to be on that proper trajectory towards the exact person that I've decided that I want to be. Where do I need to be at Q3? Where do I need to be at Q2, Q1? And then break it down further. Where do I need to be at the end of this month and then next month? Make sure that I'm where I need to be in 3 months. Break it down into weeks. Where do I need to be in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week? And then break it down daily. How am I going to accomplish in this 1 week what I need to get done? And then at the beginning of each day, this is what I learned from Derek. I've been doing it, and it's been immensely helpful. Start doing this immediately. Spend the first 10 or 15 minutes of your day coming up with a few bullet points, 3, 4, 5 things that you need to make sure you get done that day. And if you accomplish those 5 things, they got to be your biggest, most important issues of the day. You are well on your way to achieving what you need to at the end of that week, and it's a win that day. And if you just execute relentlessly on that sort of mindset, it's pretty much impossible that you're not going to end up at least getting very close to the sort of life that you want to have. And if you're not thinking that way, then you're not following an optimal path towards accomplishing your goals. And it's not going to happen by accident. And you're going to end up like, you know, the 95+% of the world who never really accomplish anything greater, or never end up having the sort of life that they want. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned from Derek. I mean, I got into this wanting to enhance my dating life and my social life, and I've gotten to a point where it's just become so much more than that. It always has been, but I think that's it's finally getting to a point where enough guys are making this realization and are realizing, man, like, I want to have an amazing life, a meaningful life, and I realize that if I follow this line of thinking, I can conceptualize what that is, and it's right there. How do I make sure that I have the right sort of mentors and the right sort of accountabilities put in place so that I actually accomplish this sort of life that I want? And for me and for many other guys, this has been that solution. And there's just really nothing else out there like this that I've ever found. And I'm just so grateful for having found this. And I wish that I would have been able to find this 10 years ago.
Yeah, you get to fucking vote, 1,000, 10,000 times every day. Every day you get to vote countless times what kind of future you're going to have. Every day. And, we had a guy recently, he shows up on boot camp, the guy's in his 40s, and he just fucked. And he says, Derek, I've been in the game 15 years. We go out the first night. He's a mess. He's a mess. He got every tip and tactic and bullshit and, every fake and fraudulent shit. Trying to fucking distract the girl from his general loserness. It's really sad. I don't tell this story with delight, but I got to tell the guy the next day, and you told me yesterday you've been in the game 15 years. You look like you've been in the game 15 fucking minutes. And he was really a wreck. And, the difference between a guy that goes out and, distracts himself from the drivers that would actually lead to success versus the guy that every day is thinking, like, what could I do right now? What's the most optimal behavior I could engage in this fucking moment to go create a better future for myself? What can I do right now so I can go to sleep tonight and have a very clear thought, a very precise and accurate thought that I created sufficient value. I've invested in myself today in a way that's going to provide me a better future. That's going to make me, more resourceful. It's going to allow me to provide better resources for my friends, better resources for my family, better resources for myself. Those are the necessary requirements. Like, do you think that women or men are so foolish? Do you think high value men and high value women are so foolish that they wish to spend their time with a bunch of unresourceful people? None of us want to spend our time with unresourceful people. That's why we gathered here together, to be around other people that are intelligent, that are executing, and have high ambitions for themselves. And there's no shortcut to that. There's no shortcut whatsoever. And the comment that Camp made about my rituals in terms of morning or nighttime, I really recommend this for you guys. And you want to talk about what would help your future this year, what would help you have a fantastic 2019. If you do this for 1 year, if you indoctrinate yourself into this process through 2019, if you did this every day, it would change your life dramatically. I'll say that again. If you did the simple thing I'm about to describe, it would change your life dramatically. And since I was in my very early 20s, I had it in my head that before I go to sleep at night, I always think about three things. I always think about what is the most important thing I have to do tomorrow to invest in my financial future? What's the most important thing? What's the biggest opportunity that I have tomorrow to invest in my peer group or my social future? And then the third one is a variable that I let that change every day depending on what I'm thinking about. But what is another opportunity? What is a third opportunity that I could take action and create value or invest in my future in some way, whether that's a health decision or a cool adventure or whatever it might be. But every fucking night, and I mean every night, and I really mean this, every night for close to 2 decades, I've had that thought. I go to sleep, and I don't spend a ton of time on it. I just think for 10 minutes. 10 minutes before bed is kind of my meditation, if you will. I think of, what's the biggest opportunity for my financial future? Is there anything better? Is there something more important I can do? Are you sure that's the biggest one? If there was a better opportunity, what would it be? And you kind of got to trick your brain so you don't get into like a rote thought process here. You kind of have to trick your brain a little bit so you actually are brainstorming and covering your options, doing a legitimate cost-benefit analysis, and make sure that, is that really the optimal behavior that I could engage in tomorrow? All right, so what's the most important one for my financial future? What's the most important thing for my social future, whether that be with girls, just your friends, your fucking close friends, business partners, etc., mentors? What can I do for those people? This is not a selfish thing. This is like, what can I do to make their life better? So, well, I guess it is a selfish thing. It's what can I do to make their life better? So it'd be very easy for them to want to contribute back and make my life better as well. And then, whatever the third one is, if you did that for 10 minutes before you go to sleep, when I wake up in the morning, I don't jump out of bed. I don't jump out of bed and go do anything. I wake up, if I have to take a leak, I might have my girl hold my penis and, point it towards like a fire hose. She takes it to the bathroom, but my body stays in bed. And I think, are those things I mentioned last night, are those still true? Have I thought of something better overnight? And, this is just a 10-minute exercise, 15 minutes out of your fucking day, 5 to 10 minutes at night, 5 to 10 minutes in the morning. And that really sets you on course for, how is your day most optimized? It lets me know, like, what are the three things that are most important for me to accomplish before I go to sleep? And if you would engage in that pattern of behavior, just 2019, if you did this for 30 days, you would never stop doing it because you would see the results. You'd see the results in a week. And if you did that for 30 days, you would never stop doing it. If you did it through 2019, you'd have stupendous results. You'd be very thankful that you engaged in that little experiment. And it keeps you focused, keeps you executing on the highest value things, and that shit compounds every day. If you can make yourself just a little bit better every day, a little bit better every day, those are things that lead to champion outcomes. You go to the gym, you don't go to the gym one time and now you gained 20 pounds or 10 kilos of muscle. You go to the gym and you broke your muscle fibers down and they get a little stronger, and you're lucky you gained a couple ounces of muscle, and you do it again, and you have diminishing marginal utility as you do that over a period of time. So this is just one of those things of, like, if you're engaging in best practices over an extended period of time and compounding them gains, like, you're going to have a very fantastic, you don't even have to plan about finances or social stuff. I don't know what the fuck else you would plan on, but whatever's important to you, man. I think those are, two of the very most important things in the world of, like, if you don't have financial success, that's a lifestyle choice. I was poor, I was a very poor kid. I had, much far below average, by U.S. standards. It wasn't third world poverty, but I grew up in U.S. poverty. And, poor is a lifestyle choice. And, Cameron mentioned this earlier that, money is just it's an idea and some execution. Having beautiful women in your life, that's just an idea and some execution. And you're either going to engage in the behaviors that lead to those sort of outcomes. And if you do, any one of us can get it. And if you don't engage in those behaviors, you're opting out. You're sending yourself, you're that 5% that's sending yourself to the furnace. Like, you don't want to advance to the next 5%. You don't want to advance to the next tier of ballers, the next tier of people who are socially resourceful, financially resourceful. And how would it happen to be that the most beautiful women and the most the highest quality women in the world would choose to be with these less resourceful guys rather than more resourceful guys? And every once in a while, I hear some dumb fuck say something like, a guy wrote on my social media recently, I get a lot of pussy too, blah blah blah, and I don't spend any money. Well, probably because he's fucking broke. And, I don't spend any money on a girl either. I don't spend any money. It's like, I might buy her some food wherever I feel like going to eat. If I take my girl out, we're going to go where I want to eat. She can order whatever she wants off the menu because I'm not a fucking bum. But you're not paying for a woman's attention. But what those financial resources will help you do is it helps you get access to other high quality people who are also intelligent and motivated. It's just a way to keep score of your general resourcefulness in the world. And if you really get down to what money is, and so there's a lot of idiots out there that think that capitalism is a bad thing or something. I think it's extremely misguided. If you really get down to what money is like money is in many cases, not in every case, but in many cases, money is a scorecard in which, like, the people that contribute the most to the world get the most reciprocal value back, and that's how you generate wealth. The wealthiest people in the world are not scoundrels. They're not thieves. They're not scoundrels. They're men that are living with great integrity, and have done so for decades. Have done so for the majority or the entirety of their lifetime. And it's the type of person that keeps his word. He's reliable. He shows up. He keeps his word. He does what he says he's going to do, and goes out of his way to delight people. It's very short-sighted. These Machiavellian thoughts of fucking somebody over and taking something. That's not how wealth is created. And that when you get older, and by older I mean like 30 even. If you're 30 and you're a bum, well, that tells a woman something. Now you still have time to turn it around, but if you're 50 and you're a bum, you're probably not going to turn it around. So I think every day, you guys pick whatever's most important to you. But I think the two most valuable things that you can engage in is your knowledge in terms of how can I help my peer group, how can I help build my social value, which basically means how can I contribute to others and help them solve their problems so they'd be excited to hang out with me and they'd find that to be a valuable experience. And then the second thing is, like, how can I help solve financial problems? How can I solve my financial problems to have more wealth and more abundance so I'd be able to contribute to my closest friends, to a special woman in my life, et cetera, et cetera. So those are two things that are very key to me. Pick whatever it is that's most important to you. But I strongly, strongly suggest, if you want to have a fantastic year and a fantastic life in the aftermath, pick 3 things that are very important to you. And, really just check in with yourself twice a day, right before bed, right when you wake up, is, what are the 3 most important things I need to do tomorrow to really invest in my future? And wake up and, like, what are the 3 most important? Is it still the same things I thought of last night? Is there something different if I thought of a better approach? And then get the fuck up and go execute on those things relentlessly. Go execute on those things. Like, your success really depends on, like, how good is your execution when nobody else is watching? How good are you fucking executing? How much of a fucking gangster are you when nobody else is watching? Are you still getting shit done? If you got a business partner already, are you still fucking advancing your agenda, your mutual agenda, while he's sleeping? Are you getting shit done? Is he treating you the same way? And that's shit that's going to really help. Let's go through some of these questions here. Let's do that in order. What do you guys say? Post some more questions. I'll answer questions for you guys. We'll get Cam to chime in on some of these too. It'll be great. Let's see here down at the beginning. So, winning over friends. Christians, how exactly do you win over friends after the target likes you? And it just has to be more compelling, man. You're in these environments, like, you have to be more compelling than the other stimulus in the environment. And there's no great trickery about it. Something that I think is humorous that I've used many times is, you have your so-called target girl that you're already with, and if she has several girls in her peer group, if there's 4, 5, 6 girls, you're not going to hold the attention of 4 or 8 girls in a goddamn nightclub. There's alcohol, there's drugs, there's loud music, there's flashing lights, there's all kinds of crazy shit. You can't hold the attention of a group that size for any sustained period of time. So you're not there trying to fucking get along with everybody. You're there to, you have your target girl, as you say, that the girl that of interest to you, and you have to discern pretty quickly, like, well, who is the group leader here? Who is the person that is the decision maker or the mom or whatnot of the group? And I strongly suggest like getting to that fucking girl, cut through the shit, find out who that girl is, and now you can talk to the two of them. You have your girl, you give most of the attention to the so-called group leader at that moment, and in terms of winning her over, like, you have something cool going on in your life that you can invite her to. If she met Leonardo DiCaprio or Chody Tatum or Tatum Chody and whatever the fuck his name is, if she met one of those guys in the club, like, would he have a hard time, winning her over? I'm not trying to fucking win her over at all. It's like you're inviting the girl to your life. You're saying like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Why don't you guys come along? You can meet my friends over here. And you have to say that in a way like, if you don't have cool friends, you should go get some. There's a lot of great guys on this platform that you should be making friends with. Find a fucking great wingman on the platform. Reach out to come on fucking boot camp. You'll meet tremendous fucking guys on boot camp. A lot of you guys already been on boot camp. That's amazing. Find guys in your fucking area that are fucking very dedicated like you are, and actually have cool friends to begin with. And like, the default thing is just find out where the group leader is. Let me give you a little strategy for that quickly, and then I'll break this down a bit further. But if you got 4 or 5, 6 girls there, if I want to learn very quickly who's the group leader, I'm just like, hey, if your friend and I were to, your friend and I like each other, if she and I were to get married, which one of you bitches would be the maid of honor? And what you're going to find is, saying the word bitches, I like that because it gets their attention. Maid of honor, that translates across all cultures, anywhere in the world. It works very well. Anywhere where they understand English, they understand what you're saying. And that captivates a woman's attention. It gets them looking at you. And what you'll find if you say that, if your friend and I were to get married, which one of you bitches would be the maid of honor? You'll see that one girl is going to stay looking at you, and 1 or 2 or 3 of the other ones are going to defer and look at that girl. Well, that's the fucking group leader. That's the group leader. So isolate them, talk to the group leader, have something cool going on. You don't have to do anything amazing. If you're trying to win her over, you're probably not going to. The guy who is trying to win her over is it's the wrong mindset to begin with. It's like she should be trying to win me over. If her and her friends were allowed to hang out with me and my friends, like, whose lives would be better? Oh, their lives would be better. If her and her friends, I'll say that again, and I'm not saying anything smug about myself. You guys should have a life like this as well. That's what you're here for. If you and your friends were fucking, really had some dope shit going on, which that doesn't have to mean a lot of money. It just means like you're just living a life that you're excited about. You're really happy about what you're up to, man. If you're living a life that's like fun and exciting, just invite her with, and let her self-select. And I strongly encourage you, like, I spend 0% of time trying to persuade her or convince her. I'm certainly not trying to win her over. I don't give a shit what her opinion is. And, if you approach it that way of, rather irreverent humor, non-neediness, not clingy, not needy, and just invited her to a better option, you'd be shocked how many girls would be excited to come with. And if you try to win her over and oversell it, it's not going to work out. It's you're letting her know that you're giving her a clear indicator that, oh, like, these guys are not who he presents himself to be. His friends are probably weirdos too. Nah, that's cool. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing and wait for some other guy to come along. Victor, what's good, Victor? Shout out to Victor. Well, answering question number 3, who's the best companion for the life I want to live? Should I drive the answer for my boundaries? Like, I don't want to be around lazy people, or should I seek people that would be compensate my natural weaknesses? Like, I mean, it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. You got to find people that I'd say are within those boundaries, but it is both. If you drew that Venn diagram and you thought about, like, well, what are my boundaries? What are my tastes and preferences for that matter? Not only whatever you perceive to be your ethical or moral boundaries, but additionally, like, what are your specific tastes and preferences? And then you drew another circle in the Venn diagram of, amongst the people that would be compatible with my boundaries, taste, and preferences, who are the people that we would have that natural ability to collaborate because they have strengths that complement my weaknesses, and I have strengths that complement their weaknesses, and there'd be a great opportunity for synergy together that tremendous value could be created. So I think it's quite literally both of those, Victor. Is like look for the overlap in that Venn diagram between who are the people that you fucking would naturally get along with, that you wouldn't have those whether it's a moral conflict or you just find distasteful or otherwise undesirable. Fuck those people, and then find people that you could do some dope ass shit together. Like I always think about any kind of relationship, like if me and any business partner that I'm involved in, I always think like, well, what are our long-term goals? First of all, you have to have similar long-term goals. And to the extent that the two competent men, you have a similar vision and a similar long-term goal, and that person has strengths that you don't have, and he's fucking dedicated. He's working while you're asleep to go accomplish that goal with you. And you're working while he's asleep to go accomplish that goal with him. And, if you can bring synergies to the table and fill voids in his life and vice versa, like, man, you guys are going to have a great relationship. Because you're going to get a lot of things done. You're going to help each other really accomplish your goals in ways that neither of you would be able to nearly approach independently. So, I think that's the foundation for any quality relationship. I would say the same type of thing with a girl is like you should find a woman who has strong competencies and taste and preferences overlap sufficiently. Whatever your particular subjective, moral or ethical taste or preferences or judgments might be, find somebody that's compatible with that. But man, she got to be doing something cool that's contributing to your life and contributing to your relationship. Or what are you doing with the bum? Kick her out and get a different one. Find somebody that's compatible that you can live a dope ass life with. So I think that's true of all human relationships.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that question as well. I'm going to echo a lot of things that Derek just said, but my approach to answering that question, there's a reason that it's question number 3 and not question number 1, is that you really need to be very clear with what your answers to questions number 1 and 2 are first. So when you answer the question, what sort of man am I and what sort of life do I want to live? Well, that consists of you first figuring out what is it that you admire, which tells you what you then value. And then from there, you can figure out, all right, well, what sort of life would I need to live that in the end, in reflection, I would realize was the most valuable life that I could have lived. Basically by definition, it's filled with that which I view as most valuable. And from there, plan that out and then go through the process. Okay, what does that look like 40 years from now, then 20, then 10, then 5, etc. And think of what the lifestyle along the way, day to day, week to week, month to month lifestyle is going to look like that's going to actually be leading you towards that life. And if you really want it, then there's no way you can deviate from that path and still accomplish that. And then ask yourself, all right, what sort of person could join me on this journey to actually achieve that goal? And ideally, in an ideal world, she's had similar questions that she's asked of herself. Perhaps they're not as strongly held as yours. Maybe one of her goals is to accompany a guy on his journey like this. But let's say that she asked herself similar questions. Ideally, you're going to find somebody who there's a synergistic effect. When she accompanies you on your journey, you are more able to accomplish and achieve the sort of life that you want. And the same can be said for her. She's better able to accomplish that life that she most wants. And you're not going to run into these issues where you have arguments or drama surrounding how you spend your evenings or your weekends, or how often you're going on vacation or going to see her family or things like that, because it's very well established from the beginning. This is the path that I'm on. This is the path that you're on. And if this is going to work, then you're going to have to figure out a way to integrate your life into mine. And ideally, it's going to be a net benefit for both of us. So that's the way that I broke down that question and thought about it. I mean, that's for me specifically, what does that equal? Well, it means that I don't want the girl who's going to be focused on non-productive things throughout the week that she would want me to be involved with, because that's just completely incompatible with my lifestyle. That's the first one that I would rule out. If most of her free time is spent, consuming ridiculous content like reality TV, or she's somebody who likes to drink a lot on the weekends, and the highlight of her week was going to a happy hour and then just spending her time in some frivolous sort of way, that's an immediate deal breaker. Maybe she's somebody who actually is a little bit more disciplined during the week, and she has goals that she's setting out to accomplish, but she's somebody who needs to live in a particular part of the country long term, and there's just no way around that. And she's so family oriented that she's going to want to be spending all this time on every single holiday or every single event with them, that if she didn't have somebody that she was spending her life with who was going to be a part of all that, then it just wasn't going to work. That's a good indication. It's probably not the right person. It's just really envisioning your life. How are you going to get to that sort of life that you most want? And then figuring out if the person who you're with, if the same sort of life that would be, or the life that would be most fulfilling to that person is actually compatible with yours.
Let's hit up this next one. Is there a way to see other boot camp alumni in a specific city? That way I can contact them and coordinate nights out ASAP. Why don't you post, look at the Wingman forum and just post stuff in there. And it's got to be a self-selection thing. That I have to be respectful of the privacy of the guys that are on here. There's a ton of guys. They're on the gold tier now. We've got a couple hundred guys have signed up. And I think by the end of the year, it's going to be well over 500. There's a lot of people that have professional lives. They have a lot of cool shit going on, and they don't necessarily want their personal information posted. So, my best advice is, we just created that new Wingman area. Go to the Wingman area, post what city you're in and what you're up to, and other guys that are in that area, they're going to self-select, or other guys that are visiting your area. And you mentioned New York City specifically. There's so many fucking dudes in New York City, for Christ's sake. There's no trouble to find a great guy that's on this platform from New York specifically. So I go to New York, God, 8 times a year I'm in New York. So it's one of the best game cities in the whole world. You're going to have no trouble with that. But utilize that Wingman area. It's not something that we're being lazy about. Frankly, I'd love it for you guys to send some extra suggestions. Do bear in mind that the program's not even live yet. This is all bonus content so far, and you guys bought a 2019 subscription that you're going to be on here for the whole year of 2019. So your membership will renew after that. I'm very open-minded. If you guys send me personal messages, or even if you set up a thread, but the best way you could do this is add some suggestions to a thread that both me and my tech team and my moderators could look at. And if there's things that we could do to make the platform better, super excited to engage in anything that makes sense and contributes for the group. Super excited to do that. One other thing we're going to do is add a book list for you guys. There's another comment on here about a book list, and I've already talked with one of my guys that on the tech side, and he's going to have that added. Probably within the week, we'll have a book list up. Certainly in the month of January, probably within the week, we'll have a book list and make it convenient. Because people ask me constantly, and on boot camp, and at my VIP tours, etc. People ask me constantly about, this book or that book and so on. So I'm going to make that very convenient for you. Other thoughts here. What do we got? Your most effective way to build an environment, right people, resources, etc. To help perpetuate success. Understood the platform is acting as a success factor. And again, when I wanted to meet people in business, what did I do? Well, I went to business school. I went to business school for undergrad. I went back to business school for graduate school. I didn't just go to any business school. I studied my ass off. But first of all, in undergrad, I made sure that I had top grades. And then when I went to the University of Chicago for business school, which go look it up, is the number one business school in our country, and many say the number one business school in the entire world. And I wanted to have good business mentors, so I went to where those people are. I wanted to be around other people in real life business stuff. So I spend probably something like $30,000 a year just on various memberships myself to join business networking groups and make sure that I'm around other entrepreneurs, other people that are very serious about their financial success. Regarding girl stuff, this platform is going to be fantastic, obviously for girls, but also for success in general with your finances or whatever other goals you might have. There's room on here for us to talk about that, because I don't think that these are separate silos of your life. I think, you said it yourself, so I won't belabor it, but this is a great platform where you're going to find other guys that, not only do they want some pussy, they also want to have like good financial resources, great social resources, and like actually a very high quality, very fulfilling life. So that's why I created this for us. So, I strongly encourage, for the guys that are on the silver tier, they can't even comment on this message board when I'm looking at the messages. The guys on the silver tier, they're not allowed to comment on here. This is only for the guys that are the most serious and the most dedicated. That, as you know, you have to be on boot camp previously. With me specifically, you have to be a Derek boot camp client or Derek boot camp alumni to be on the gold platform. But these are real serious guys on here. And then there's the Knights tier. I went to the gym today with one of our Knights tiers members. Went to the gym today. He's a bodybuilder, brilliant guy. I mean, very, very top professional in his area. And, those guys are paying $12,000 a year. Why? I don't even tell them. I don't even tell them what they're going to get. But they know that if you spend time with me, it's going to be very valuable. And, we've had to turn down most of those applications to the Knights tier. And any organization, if you want to be on the top level, it's available to you. I've spent, really, really close to $1 million, maybe more than $1 million. I'd have to think about it, but I spent something like $1 million, between academic education, access to social networks, going to special events and whatnot, and then the transportation expenses and housing expenses to go to these places and meet people. One time I had an important business contact that I really wanted to speak with him. And he told me that, he was in Hong Kong. He told me if I was in the area to stop over and we'd get lunch. And I flew to Hong Kong. I flew 16 hours to go see the guy. I took him out to lunch. I paid for the lunch. We were together for about an hour. I took him out to lunch. I paid for the lunch. And then I flew home. And I think it was great. Go put yourself in the right situations. You could be around some of the top people in the world if you care to, man. It's just a self-selection process. So in terms of, building your peer group, those right social resources, like, pay the fucking cover charge to go to the right clubs, man. If you want to meet the best girls, like, I don't want to go to a free club. I'm never going to another free club in my life. Like, if there's a paid club I could go to instead, I want to go to the expensive club. Why? Because it might cost a few dollars, but what's even more expensive? Wasting your fucking time around a bunch of losers. What's really, really expensive? Wasting your fucking life. Wasting your life hanging out with a bunch of losers, and then complaining like, oh, I can't meet the right girls. When I go to the club, I just meet the girls. They're not that smart. They're not real 9s and 10s. There's a lot of 7s, a lot of 6s to 8s. So it's real. Yeah, no shit. Those girls want to hang out with fucking dudes that are resourceful, man. And like, it's not. This ain't even a money thing. It's just like that paying that cover charge means like losers can't go there. All the cover charge means is losers are not allowed. And the girls want to go to a place where losers are not allowed because the loser is the guy that's going to be grabbing her ass, drooling on her boobs, doing creepy shit. The guy that's like a legitimate threat to not only her happiness, but her physical safety. So, if you want to be around the hottest girls, go to places where losers are not allowed. That's where the hottest girls are going to be. If you want to be around the highest quality guys, whatever that is in your area, whatever it is in your field, go to professional events where those people are. Go to seminars, conferences, industry conferences. There's a ton of high level networking events out there that you can pay for access to. And Derek, I don't want to spend money. What's a lot more expensive than a little bit of money? You can go earn a little bit of money back. And if you're around the right people, you'll earn it back real quick, and you'll multiply it many, 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 many times. What's a lot more expensive is like spending your life. Spending your time on something, spending your time around the wrong people, it's tremendously more expensive than a few dollars to go meet the right people. So, strongly, strongly recommend get yourself in the right groups, and you'll find those people, and they'll invite you to shit that you can't even believe yet. They'll invite you to fucking stuff that you would never get access to by yourself. I could just name 5 people, and I won't say them by name, but there's 5 people in my life that. They opened so many doors for me, and then I met more people and more people and more people, and that's how we were going to the Playboy parties. Those are dead now as Hefner died, but we went to the Playboy parties probably 13 times, and a ton of the Maxim parties and amazing special events that a mere mortal would never get access to. I met 20 something, 30 billionaires. Not I was in the room, but like shook hands with and met them. Yeah, that's why I pay for those fucking fees to be parts of those organizations. So, that's why we created the Knights Tier Heroes. So that's just an opportunity. That's a cover charge for the guys that are most serious. Apply to the Knights Tier program. And, if you're the type of guy that my friends and I would feel really comfortable spending a lot of time with, that we'd feel comfortable inviting you out to come to dope ass private parties with us, to come on, whatever it is we're doing. I don't even want to talk about details. Whatever dope ass shit we're doing, maybe I'll just invite you to go to the gym. Maybe we'll go to fucking dinner. Maybe you'll be on my friend's yacht. Maybe you'll be on a friend's jet with me. But whatever I'm doing, it's got to be somebody that's super cool that I feel very comfortable bringing them around. Like my close friends, my mentors, my girlfriend. It's going to be very comfortable and cool. So if you're one of those type of guys and you think we get along well, apply to the Knights Tier program. Find it on the Brotherhood website. And, that's a fantastic opportunity that you could meet some of my close friends and mentors, and I could help you expand your peer group like that if you're serious. What else we got? You have thoughts about this, Cam?
Yeah, actually. So I would say step one is, again, answering those questions and then actually developing yourself into someone who has valuable skills and can be valuable to other people. If you put yourself around people who are also valuable, they're doing a lot of great things with their life, what sorts of people do they want to be spending their time with? Become somebody that they would logically want to be spending their time with, and put yourself into enough scenarios in which you're around those people, and relationships between the two of you will just organically happen. And coming back to the idea of something like the Knights Tier, it's not just a matter of like paying a fee and then now you're the Knights Tier. We've rejected the majority of the people who've applied for that. I think something like
I've accepted less than 30% of them. For people that are trying to give me $12,000, I've accepted less than 30% of those. So it has to be somebody that I know, like 100%, totally comfortable to hang out with that guy, invite him to some of the most intimate moments of my life, and hang out and be my homie. If it ain't like that, I don't want that money.
Exactly. It's about not just being like, all right, I want to be around these people and I want to be like this. If I just buy my way into this university or a part of this networking group, it's like, no, man, like you need to find the right groups or the right schools, the right institutions to be a part of, but you have to actually be somebody who belongs there. So step one is to build your own value, whatever that is. Figure out what it is that you want to do with your life. Figure out what the people who are at the very top of those areas that you're interested in, what they're doing, and then emulate that. Work on developing those skills every single day until you've become enough of a version of that people start to recognize that, and then people will just automatically, naturally, organically be compelled to be spending time with you, to be collaborating with you, to be associating with you. You're the sort of person that Derek would go out of his way. You'd be the type of person that he'd want to fly to Hong Kong to meet with. And it's really just that, man. Start at the bottom where you are, figure out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and develop those strengths, work on eliminating or at least reducing your weaknesses, and become somebody who can actually contribute a lot of value. And those are the sorts of people that people want to be around.
Warren Buffett's business partner, Charlie Munger, is a guy that I quote sometimes. I think he's a very brilliant man. And, Charlie says you got to be the type of product that your ideal customer would want to buy. And, what he means by that is like, there's no trickery. It's just like, if you want to have the highest quality stuff, if you want to engage with the highest quality people, like you have to be one of those type of people. You have to be the ideal product or the ideal person. The person who you would most like to be around, they would want to be around that. And then you have that natural overlap, like we talked about a little bit ago. And like, I mentioned it in the context of business partners and whatnot, but also true of girlfriends is, you just contribute so much value naturally. You have so much to offer that, one of the greatest gifts that we get, one of the greatest gifts that all of us, and I mean every one of us here, one of the greatest gifts that the world has handed to all of us is that so many people, by definition, 50% of people are below average. By definition, 50% of the world are below average people. And you know what the other great news is? Of the other 50%, about 80% of them aren't even trying hard. So for you to be in the top 10%, God, I mean, it's easy. Like if you just, if you did what I just said earlier, if you did nothing else, if you just did what I said earlier, of like, make a check in with yourself twice a day of like, what are the three biggest things I need to accomplish tomorrow? And when you wake up in the morning, check in with yourself again of like, oh, are there still the three most important things? All right, and then get off your ass and go do those things. If you just had that plan and some decent execution, you'll be in that top 10%, no problem. Like, no problem. Like many of you are already in that top 10%. And then you got to look around and you'd be like, all right, well, how do I screen out the rest of this muck? And, how do I make myself more useful to others? How do I add more value to other people's lives? So people are clamoring that they want to spend time with me. People are reaching out to me and they know that my time is valuable and their time is valuable. And they don't want to be around losers. So they're going out of their way to try to offer you value. And if you see in my email, I mean, God, how many people contact the company and say, oh, I want to be Derek's assistant. How frequently does that happen?
No, I mean, it happens constantly. I would say something along the lines of 50 times a week we'll hear from guys who are interested in assisting Derek, working for Derek, asking things that they can do for him. And there's just, I mean, it gets to a point where it's difficult to be able to differentiate amongst those guys. I mean, yeah, like Derek is always looking for people to come into his life who can be contributing value, but at the same time, it's like, how is he going to know that you're that sort of person if he's never met you, if he's never seen what you're really capable of offering and the sort of person that you are?
When somebody writes me that, they didn't even come on a boot camp program and they write me something like that, I think, what a ridiculous joke. That would be like if you wanted to meet an author and you never read his book. It's what a ridiculous joke is silly. But yeah, in any case, it's really easy to be in the top 10% of humanity. Most people aren't even trying, man. Half of them are too stupid. They're not capable if they wanted to be. And, the other 80% that are above average, that, 80% of them aren't even trying. It's not even your competition. You can be in the 10% so easy. And, if you just keep hustling from there, and then be in the 1% and then keep going from there to, whatever areas that you most value. I never tell you guys how to live your life. I never suggest how you should live your life. I would tell you live your life in whatever way would give you the most complete fulfillment and happiness. And to do that, that's why I suggest those three questions so frequently. What kind of man am I? What kind of life do I want to live? Who'd be the best companion for that life? But really define that for yourself. Do it fucking this week, man. Really define that for yourself so you don't go into 2019 fuzzy. And then find a way to contribute. Yes, buy access to shit. I do it all the time. And you know what it does? It saves me a lot of fucking time. It gets me access to awesome people that I would never ever be able to meet. They would never spend time with me if I didn't pay the fucking cover charge to be in the same room. Wouldn't happen. So yeah, yes, pay for access to the right networking groups, to the right professional events, to the right nightclubs. It's a gift. It's a gift. You're not paying to get in. You're paying so they can hire staff and create an environment that keeps losers out. You're not even paying to get in. You're paying so losers are not allowed to go to the places where you go. So work on that this year, and you'll thank me. For those of you that do it, you'll thank me. You'll write a fucking post on here and you say, "God damn, Derek, that's amazing. That changed my fucking life. I was thinking about that the wrong way." What do we got here? Difficult decisions. Luis. How do you guys go about making difficult decisions? Is there a certain guideline that you've developed to help you make them, or do you choose one hoping it's the best decision? I mean, we just talked about it. Honestly, it's like know who you are and know what you want, and then your values are quite clear. After you've set up your personal boundaries or moral code, if you want to think of it that way, which I think is a totally subjective thing. It depends what your goals are. What should your boundaries be? What should your moral code be? Well, it depends what your goals are. And it depends, what are the things that you're willing to say no to, so you're going to be able to say yes to the things that you want most. And, if you haven't thought about that, then you're really fucked. Because, the other people who have thought about that, they're at an extreme advantage. So, you really get very clear on those three questions we just talked about. Get very clear about who you are, what you want, who are the people that are going to be the best companion to live that type of life. And, you're going to be on some gangster shit, man. You do what you want. It'd be very clear to you. It's very clear to me when I have a decision to make. It's just like, all right, is this going to help me accomplish one of my primary goals? Yes or no? What is the opportunity cost? What else could I be doing? would it detract? Would it take away from my ability to accomplish one of my other important goals? So, you know, I'm never willing to do anything that would harm my reputation in terms of. That doesn't mean I play by society's rules. I don't give a fuck about fitting in with mainstream society. I could not care less about fitting in with mainstream society. I think they're mostly losers. So in terms of reputation, I don't give a fuck what the masses think. When I say that, like, you know, I would never engage in a behavior that would ruin my reputation with people that I respect. I would never ruin my reputation with my friends, with my loved ones, with other people that I have respect for. And, you know, there's other people out there. I offered you guys, I promised you last month that, you know, oh, we're going to do this call at the beginning of December. We're going to do another call later on. And, you know, here I am. And here we are together. And I never break my word. I'm very reluctant to make promises, very reluctant to make a commitment to anything, but I never, ever break my word. And that's not because I'm a nice fucking person. I want to make that clear, and I think it'd be very useful to you guys if you adopted this sort of lifestyle. Like, I don't break my word because I have to believe when I tell somebody that I'm going to do something, I have to know that that's true. Because when I tell myself I'm going to do something, I also need to know that that's true. And you can't segregate those. If you go about your life lying to others, you don't even trust your own opinion. You don't even trust your own commitments to yourself. And it's very much to your detriment. So my suggestion is, you know, be very reluctant to make commitments. Don't promise things that you can't deliver. Be very reluctant to make commitments. But when you do make a commitment to someone, even if it's inconvenient at that point, even if the circumstances have changed and it would be, you know, to your short-term detriment to follow through, I strongly suggest that you follow through with those commitments. Because there's nothing better that you can do for your own personal integrity, for your own personal confidence, is to know that if I give my word to someone, I follow through with that shit 100%. And even if it's not in your best interest, you have to go do it. You know, I have to turn things down. I had a couple of really, really cool opportunities. We're here in Vegas for New Year's, and I have a couple of friends of mine that they have a very VIP lifestyle, and they invited me to some really cool shit today. And I had to turn that down to be on this call. And I absolutely did the right thing. I don't feel bad about it at all. I could have made an excuse. I could have sent a fucking email and say, oh, we'll do it tomorrow, guys. But no. I need to believe in myself. So, you know, why? So when I make a commitment to my own future in some way, I know it's a fact, and I know that I'll execute and follow through. And so that other people around me, so my peer group can be like, you know, oh, if Derek told me something, they don't have to question it. They don't have to second guess that. It's like, oh, if Derek told me this is what we're doing, that's what's going to happen. Shit's going to be good. So don't try to shortcut that shit in any way. It has to be that way. You have to know who you are. You have to know what you want. You have to be 100% firm in your commitments. Be reluctant to make those commitments, though, or you'll get overextended. But you know, do that due diligence, do that cost-benefit analysis in advance, and you know, fucking execute, motherfucker, execute. So, any additional thoughts on this?
Yeah, I got a couple of things I can say that. So, for me, anytime that I have a major decision, it's like what Derek was saying. You need to start with those original questions that you had answered. I mean, the metaphor that I like to think about this through, or like the lens I need to view it, is if I was on a road trip, I can't even know whether I should be turning left or right out of my driveway if I don't know where I'm trying to end up. So you need to have your end goal in mind to know if you're actually on the proper trajectory to end up accomplishing what you want to be accomplishing long term. Once you have that in mind, I would say find as many mentors as you can who you know are just very, very in touch with reality. These are the sorts of people who are older, more experienced. They've been through a lot of the same situations that you anticipate you're going to be encountering yourself, and just absorb everything that they write or that they say, that they put out there, and get an intuitive sense of how they would be responding, or the sort of advice that they would give. I mean, it would be ideal if you could actually be getting real advice from those people, but at the very least have a good idea of the sort of advice they would be likely to give. So for example, I had mentioned before a few of the people, along with, like, you know, Derek, Owen, Julian, the other guys on the list, you know, Peter Thiel, Jordan Peterson, etc. If I had a round table where I was at one end of it, I had all these guys around me, and I had this big life decision in front of me, and I went through guy by guy to get their insights and the sort of objections that they would have to my plan of, you know, like what sort of execution I'm going to be having in the near future when it comes to this decision. If I came up with some route that either had very little objection, or that all those guys gave me the thumbs up, the green light, that's a good way to be living your life, I would have to say that the odds are that's probably a pretty good path to be going down, and vice versa. If I was getting terrible responses from these guys, if they were telling me that I was really messing up, that this is not the way you want to be living your life, I should probably take a step back and reflect. And I'm not talking about the insights or the opinions of the herd, or the middle of the road average Walmart shopping, McDonald's eating American. I'm talking about the people that you really hold to a different standard, the sorts of people that you think are, or who embody the sort of attributes and characteristics that you yourself want to be embodying. So I would do both those things. Have in mind where it is you're going, and make sure that the decision you're making keeps you on that path to get where you want to go. And always be thinking to yourself, is this decision, is this impacting me in a positive way now? Will it still be impacting me positively tomorrow? What about next week, next month, next year, 10 years from now? And what sort of impact is this going to be having on my close friends and business partners, or my loved ones? Like, if you take all those into account, and it's a positive, or at the very least neutral movement at all those levels, different periods of time, different groups of people, if it's a positive outcome that you're anticipating, then you're doing the right thing.
Word. We'll get a couple more in here before we get a bounce. We got boot camp clients in just a bit, but what do we got here? We got Derek. When you find yourself getting distracted from your goals, what are some things you do to get back on track? I don't get distracted from my goals. I don't mean that in a smug way. I'm very honest with myself. I don't try to. I wish I could be a more cocky person. I wish I could have a bigger ego. And I think that a person has to make a decision like, do you want to have a great ego, or do you want to have great fucking results? And the guys that I see that consistently get great fucking results, they're not so full of themselves. They tend to be a person who's conscientious, a person who's, you're very objectively aware of what are your assets and liabilities. And you work diligently, like, how can I offload the assets that are really detrimental? Excuse me, how can I offload the liabilities that are being very detrimental and they have to go because it's an obstacle to my success? And how do I go develop more assets that are going to help me, overcome obstacles or simply bypass obstacles that would have come up, if I didn't develop those assets? And that's all I'm thinking about, man. So I don't get distracted. It's all I think about all day. I just worked through Christmas. I just worked through New Year's. I didn't have to, man. When I was 33, I had enough money. It became clear to me I never had to work another day in my life. That I was living a very nice lifestyle, very, very comfortable. And I realized that, if I never worked another day in my life, I would currently die before I ran out of money. And, there's a couple things that happened because of that. One thing is, the greatest thing that money ever gets you is the freedom to spend your time how you want to. And I made a commitment to myself then that I'm going to spend less and less time every year. I'm going to discern, like, what are the obstacles to more freedom? What are the things that I want to do that are going to bring me more opportunity and higher quality opportunities in my future? And I need to spend all my time on that. Because after you have your financial freedom, I don't know one person that, even is close to moderate wealth, has anything close to a good income or a bit of net worth. Anyone who has any money, they know that your time becomes a lot more valuable than more money. So, that's why I created this. And that's why I'm talking with you guys, is like, this was a fantastic platform where, just like I told you, I spend, tens of thousands of dollars every year to go meet cool people, plus travel expenses, etc. Well, this is another platform. The reason I'm involved with RST at all is I think there's a lot of guys that have a sincere problem. It's two reasons. I think there's a lot of guys that have a sincere problem that, I struggle with those same problems. And it is like quite literally like my little mechanism of giving back that, well-qualified guys come on boot camp and I help them avoid some of the pain and struggles that I had to endure and that Owen had to endure. And, I'm not the type of person that wants to have children or a family, but that does take care of kind of the nurturing side of my personality. And, the other reason that I really enjoy the boot camp and do live talks and whatnot is it allows me to meet other really high quality people, other guys that are from all ages, guys some of them are 18, some kids come to my talk, they're 13 in my audience. And I think it's hilarious, but like 13 and asking me like, So Derek, how do I make out with girls in high school and shit like that? Derek, how do I have sex when I live with my parents? But some of those guys are, some of the other guys are, they're extreme executors. So it gave me access to a fantastic peer group, and that's what this is for, is to be able to connect some of those people together. So I think it's super dope, man. But yeah, I don't get distracted. I know who I am. I know what I want. My time is more valuable than any other bullshit, and I don't waste any of it. I don't want to waste any time on any kind of nonsense that's not contributing to my biggest goals. And there's I'd say those social goals are very primary for me right now, and accomplishing that. The financial goals kind of take care of themselves if you're around the right people. When you have access to the right people and the right knowledge, and you're a good executor, finances are going to take care of themselves. It's not going to be a problem at all. So I make it. It's my primary goal is my social network now, and making sure I spend more and more and more time around the right people, and I spend zero time around the wrong people. And I think that would really help quite a lot with, you don't get distracted. You don't have time. You don't have time to get distracted. You're just like, no, I got shit to do. You wake up with purpose. You wake up with purpose. You wake up with certainty. It's like, I know what I need to do. I'm 100% sure that I'm going to go do it. And, there's going to be externalities. Little shit gets in your way. You're going to have obstacles. And obstacles, as I said earlier, it's an opportunity in disguise. It's an opportunity in disguise to show your brilliance, to show your ingenuity, your fucking genius, your perseverance, to overcome those obstacles and get to the outcome that you had in mind anyway. And that's really a selecting process. The guys that want something and overcome the obstacles and go get the shit. That's why we do kind of hero-size those people. They're financially rewarded, they're sexually rewarded, they're treated with a lot of respect and legitimate reverence. Where people who aren't capable of overcoming obstacles, nobody wants to be around those people. Nobody respects them, nor should they.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Ryan, if I'm ever in a situation where I feel like that this is happening, the first thing that I do is I reflect on whether this is a goal that I'm actually serious about accomplishing. Because first and foremost, if you're not willing to take on the responsibility that's going to lead to that outcome that you have identified as your goal, then it's never going to happen. You're not going to ever accomplish something that is valuable and difficult if you don't truly want to accomplish that goal. So if you decide, yes, I really do want it, then the second thing that I do is I reflect on what does my peer group look like? Who am I surrounding myself with? Am I surrounding myself with people who are on a similar track, or is the trajectory that all of my friends and colleagues are on, is it entirely different? Or is every bit of peer pressure that I'm surrounding myself with, every sort of encounter that I have with a person, leading me in the direction of accomplishing my goal, or is it moving me away from that? And if it's moving me away, meaning when I know that today I need to be reading, getting a lot of work done, and going to the gym, and the people that I'm associating with are doing none of those three things, then I really need to change that environment that I'm within. Otherwise, I can only expect that I'm going to be on a similar trajectory to them. Again, you're the five people, you're the average of the five people you spend the most time around. And then lastly, if I have my environment somewhat in check, I'm surrounding myself with good people, I know I really want to accomplish that goal, the last thing that I would do is I would say, get some accountability from a person that you actually respect. When I want to accomplish, being in shape, having my diet and workout routine on point, what do? Well, I pay a personal trainer to make sure that I feel accountable to showing up at a particular time and place, a certain number of times per week, ideally 3 or 4 times per week, so that I go through the process. I was a college athlete. I know how to work out. This person has knowledge, insights into that I don't, but that's not really the reason that I get it. I get it so that I can have a well-formulated plan that's I've decided beforehand, this is what I need to be executing on, and I'll get the results that I want if I actually execute. And then I have the person who I've actually paid to make sure that I show up when I say I'm going to go through the motions with adequate intensity to elicit the result that I want. That's a very formulaic way of putting it, but that's really what you need to do is figure out how can I have some sort of accountability put in place so that when I've used a lot of willpower today and I just really don't want to be doing this, I have that extra social pressure and that extra accountability to keep me on that track that I need to be on. And that's been just immensely helpful in accomplishing my goals.
Yeah, I see Jake here asking how long does it take to answer those questions? How do we go about answering them? it sounds like you kind of asked both of us this. Is, I think Cameron might have a different opinion. But I just think it's a very simplified model. But do this and then expand on it. But you hear me talk about pickup game. It's what a disgusting word. This pickup. It's not what we're doing, man. Like if you want to have a fucking success with women, success with finance, success with your education, you want to be around high quality. That's really cool. You want to be around high quality mentors and so on. You get to fucking you're gonna think about three things. You're gonna think about the social investment. Psychology, economics, and communication. Those are the three things you need. You need to understand how does let's play with economics first. How does a fucking economy function? How are people behaving in the marketplace? What sort of things are considered valuable, deemed valuable within the marketplace? And once you understand that, this is not academic economics. Like, what do people seem to value in the world? What do the valuable people value? What are the people that you respect? What do they value? What are they looking up to? What are the things that they want? It doesn't matter what everybody wants. I didn't say what does the average person value or want. But what are the people that you respect, the people that you admire or you'd like to spend time with or be around? What are those people paying attention to? What do they perceive as valuable? And if you want to be around them, you're probably going to be on that kind of path. And then, secondly, the psychology component is understanding, first and foremost, for each of us, your biggest psychology problem is not dealing with others, it's dealing with yourself, is overcoming your own internal issues. That's certainly has been my biggest lifetime struggle in terms of psychology is, you're like, oh, I'm going to understand others and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm perfect and I'm going to understand how the others are thinking. Nah, man, probably 2/3 of the battle is understanding your own psychology and, learning to be disciplined at a time that's not convenient, learning to have a good work ethic. When you feel like relaxing, you're like, no, I have a bigger goal. I have things that I need to accomplish. I need to overcome some shit. So understanding your own psychology, and then you can look around the world and think about, well, how are these other creatures behaving? How are they thinking? So on and so on. And the third thing is communication. And if you were a slightly better communicator, you could multiply your outcomes. If you were 5% better communicator, you'd double your outcomes quickly. So how do I given what do people value and how are they thinking? How do I communicate with those people in a way that differentiates me from the others and cuts through the shit and lets me help them accomplish what they'd like to accomplish? And those type of people are going to want to be around you for sure. So I think it's about as simple as that. And it's subjective, man. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, Jake. And you'll answer whatever you perceive as valuable. But I think those three metrics, being a better communicator, being a better economist, being a better psychologist, if you looked at those in a pragmatic sense and applied that to every damn element of your life, you'd be very pleased with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And Jake, I don't know if I can give an exact amount of time that you want to spend on that because it's complicated. It's a question that you never really ever finish answering. You're constantly reflecting on what sort of person you are. Because I mean, as time goes on, you're exactly who you are, the experiences you've had, the people you've associated with, and the paths that make the most sense. They change incrementally. So it's obviously something that up front you put a lot of time into. I would say over the last year or so, I've put, I mean, I don't even know, probably dozens, like literally dozens of hours into answering that question. And that comes down to not just like sitting there silently thinking about it, although there are certainly times that I do that, but it's studying material that's put out by the people that I respect and admire. As Derek had just said, it's getting a feel for what sort of way of thinking, way of viewing the world, the philosophy or attitude towards life that certain people have, that you're just like, yes, there's something right about the way this person is thinking, the way that they're living their life. I want to do it more like that. And then when you have a collection of 5, 10, maybe 25 people who are like that, consume everything that they put out, just immerse yourself in their thoughts and get your mind working like that. I think that it's more important to find 10 thinkers who you think are amazing and consume 5 times as much content from those 10 thinkers, as opposed to finding 50 thinkers who are just kind of like, oh yeah, this was top shelf at the bookstore. I guess this person knows a lot about business. And then you consume 50 different perspectives on business, a lot of it, or whatever topic it is that you're researching, and you get conflicting advice. People have very different worldviews or opinions that don't align with yours. And at the end of that, you're probably a little bit more enlightened, but for the most part, you're confused and you've just been given a lot of contradictory information that you can't execute on as well. It's find the people who you really mesh with, who are speaking in a way that is like, wow, this guy, everything that he says, it's just like airtight in terms of the logic and the reason underlying it. And and those people are few and far between, but when you find them, just immerse yourself in their thought processes. And what you'll find is as you continue to move up, so like let's say right now you're in your early 20s and you find a bunch of people who are in their late 20s and their 30s and their 40s, et cetera, who are very similar to you. They're basically like you 5, 10, 20 years down the road. You're the same sort of person in terms of what you value and what your strengths and weaknesses are, et cetera. You're emulating them to a certain extent. What you'll find is 5 years down the road, when you've developed yourself into that sort of person, your values are now going to be a little bit more in line with what those people's are. And you're going to find like, wow, they were really right. These people that they said that they admired, so like the people who were admired by the people that you admired, now those are the people that you're looking up to, because it's just, that's the natural progression of the information. You find the people who you look up to, and then now you're ask yourself, all right, are there some people in common that all these people are looking up to also? Great. I might as well, take a look at everything that these people in the intermediary step are saying, but I'm eventually going to get to the top of the pyramid. Why not just expedite the process and look directly there? That was something that led me in the direction of a lot of these thinkers that I wouldn't have found otherwise. That was one of the reasons that I wanted to take a program with Derek. I mean, he was the instructor's instructor. It's like, okay, well, if I want to progress in terms of my skill development as quickly and as effectively as I can, he's the one who trained the other instructors. I might as well go right to the source. And I would say, just in summary, answer that whole question, constantly be reflecting on that and constantly seek out the people who are a combination of brilliant minds who have values that are aligned with yours.
Word. Seth, this question about, you got your mind on a lot of different things. You can pick 2 or 3 things. You really can work on 2 major problems at a time. And, you don't get to be the person who's like, I'm going to work on 30 projects. No, you're going to accomplish 0 projects. You're going to accomplish exactly nothing, exactly 0, and without deviations. I worried about my mom's opinion and my boss's opinion and my this, and my that, and and what would the world think of me? What do strangers I don't even know? What do they think about me? They're not thinking of you at all. I promise. They're not thinking of you at all. And if you go around the world trying to worry about balancing 30 balls, you're fucked. You're going to get exactly 0. And get the fuck out. Come on, man. You're going to get I have to kill an intern here. I have to execute an intern when I get off this call now. In any case, you're going to accomplish exactly 0 things. So if you want to be very, very good at something, if you look at people who are the best in the world at something or best ever at something, you look at like a Michael Jordan, a Kobe Bryant, a Tiger Woods, a Michael Phelps. These are common examples. Like these guys weren't good at 30 fucking things, bro. They're not good at 3 things. Like they're good at swimming, or they're good at basketball, or they're good at golf. And if you want to be great at something, you only get one thing. And for me personally, that just wasn't. I didn't have a strong enough drive that I was willing to sacrifice the rest of my life to be good at only one thing. So for me, I wanted to be. I was very interested in business stuff. I was very interested in social networks, and I was very interested in women. So I found the overlap of those 3 things, and I spent my time educating myself in ways that would help me be a better business partner, help me be a better investor, help me be a better friend, a better communicator, etc. And like I just wanted to do that. I wanted women, I wanted money. And I wanted some cool ass dudes to go fucking spend time with and travel around the world and do dope shit. And those were the 3 things. And I had a very good IQ, and I had some great mentors. And it started off pretty rough, but it ended up really good so far. So things are pretty fantastic. So that happened because I could only focus on a couple of things at a time. And this idea of like I want to live a balanced life. Well, whoever told you that's a fucking idiot. And the guys that promote this shit of how do I live a balanced life? But man, these are marketers, dude. These are people that are fucking trying to sell you some bullshit. And like, if you want to be a champ, you want to fucking overcome shit and be a champ at something, you're not going to have balance in your life. You're going to be extreme. You want to engage in extreme behaviors for a period of time. You're going to go through a period where all you do is that thing. All you do is pick up for a while. all you do is work on your business for a while and another business and study things in general. Like, you get to do that, internalize it deeply. So, your reward for that is you don't have to be half-ass at it for the rest of your life. After you develop a champion skill set at something, you would carry on with a high proficiency at that and the pride that comes with it for, most of your lifetime. So, fuck balance and fuck this, three things. Nah, man, pick your favorite two and go do that. Three at most. If you're trying to do four things, you're done. You've diluted yourself too much. So you're not going to be extremely effective or extremely impactful at any of those things. So bullet points.
Yeah, man. I have a similar perspective on that. I think anytime you start trying to balance your development in too many areas simultaneously, you're not going to develop sufficiently in any of those areas, most likely. And the way that I really think about this, it's like Derek said at the beginning, if you want to be like a renowned world champion or an expert in something, that's going to have to be like the singular focus of your life. You're probably not going to be exceeding or knowledgeable in a lot of other areas. And I mean, like, think of that as being a world champion, the PhD who's oft cited in a particular domain that they're just like the world expert within. But then, I mean, think about the other levels of competence within an area. You could be like commercially competent in something. Maybe that's like a master's level understanding of something, or I guess you could say like the MD or the PhD who's not, or the dentist who's not necessarily an expert within their field, but there's somebody who is able to make a living doing that, and then combine that with one other skill that takes a similar amount of devotion and attention and focus to develop. And now you're combining two relatively rare, high value skill sets together, and you're a rare person for that reason. Or, I mean, think about one level below that as being more of like an amateurly competent. So maybe that's like a bachelor's level understanding of something, or you have enough of an understanding that you're probably not going to be hired specifically for that skill, but it can inform you in your progression within the business world, or on the job in your career. Or, I mean, I'm sure that Derek would say he has a lot of insights into communication and psychology, et cetera, that he's picked up just from studying a lot of these fields on his own independently, that he's probably not going to be hired as that person. But it's not as if he doesn't have a clear enough understanding of all of these skills that he can utilize a lot of the insights that he's picked up, and he knows the sorts of people that he needs to associate with in order to get these sorts of insights. And then I would say the last level that's lower than that would be like discussionally competent, meaning maybe you've read a book or two on the subject. You have no idea how to like realistically execute on these things or put them to work towards the execution of your goal, but at least you have enough insight into the way that this particular domain works that you have a very clear understanding of the sorts of advisors you need to seek out. Maybe you have a discussional competence of the legal system or of accounting, et cetera. You'd never be able to do what a CPA does or what a lawyer does, but at least you're not going to be completely left out to ruin without them. And then lastly, just remain ignorant of anything that's not going to be propelling you towards that ultimate goal. So figure out how much of an understanding at all these different levels of clarity or resolution you need to have, and do not allocate any of your time towards something that is not important to what your overall goal is. So
not a second of your fucking life, not a second. If it ain't going to help you accomplish your biggest and most important goals, it doesn't get a second of your attention. It's zero. It's none of your attention. I'm going to hit just a couple bullet points, and I have to meet with clients soon. So, Alejandro, what is the most effective way to deal with women who flake? I don't deal with flakes. I don't deal with it at all. She don't even have an opportunity to flake. And I'll tell you two stories quickly. I knew a girl long ago in a galaxy far away. I knew a beautiful woman who was she was going to graduate school in Switzerland, and she's telling me a story, and she's a friend of mine. She's telling me a story where she meets some Florida banker. He's got his Bentley. He's an executive at UBS. He's a young vice president. He's still in his 30s and doing good. And so this guy asks her out on a date, and she chats him up for a minute. She's cool with it, and she's like, all right, pick me up at this time at this place right over there. And he says, well, give me your phone number. And, and she's like, no, I'm not giving you my phone number. He says, well, what if I'm a few minutes late? She says, if you're a few minutes late, don't bother coming. I won't be there. And, that should really hit home with you that, if you're a 9 or a 10, you should act like it. Because these girls that think that they're 9s or 10s, or girls that you think are 9s or 10s, like, if you had similar value, you wouldn't tolerate this bullshit. I wouldn't have this. I had no concerns about a flake in my life, but unheard of. If she's not on time, she's not respectful and responsible, she's not going to be there. And second story is, I went for years I wouldn't take a phone number without sex. There's no reason to take a woman's phone number if you haven't had sex with her. Just close the deal, man. Close the goddamn deal. Don't take these phone numbers. Go wipe your ass with a phone number. There's other people at RSD that have different opinions about it, and I just simply disagree. I think if you want to fucking make sure that you're gonna close the fucking deal with a lot of girls this year, stop taking phone numbers. Phone numbers, goddamn rejection strategy. You're not doing yourself a favor doing this shit. And you say, oh, Derek, I take all the phone numbers and I follow up with my numbers, and then I close it. I close girls pretty frequently. Yeah, that's cool, man. But you know what? If the girl liked you enough to give you her phone number, a good percentage of those girls would be happy to hook up with you the same day too. And those girls, they'd be calling you back. They'd be calling you proactively. They'd be texting you proactively. They'd be going out of their way to try to make time for you, trying to get you to pay attention to them. So I think the system's absolutely backwards. That's fine. Go do your little day game and go get your phone numbers. And I know you can get sex that way. I get it. But it's not the most efficient way. It's not the way that's going to get you the most buy-in. It's not the way that's going to get you the highest quality girls who are consistently chasing after you. Stop taking fucking phone numbers and make her make a decision. Make a decision yourself that you're going to be sufficiently compelling that she's going to be like, damn, I don't want to miss this opportunity. I got to go with this guy tonight because he's not going to give me a second chance. If I don't go with him tonight, I don't get to see him ever. And this phone number shit doesn't convey that properly. Last couple bullet points quick, and we got to bounce and go meet with our boot camp guys. Shout out to John, Eric, Jose, Ifty. What the hell? I don't know what a fucking Ifty is, but what up, bro? Eric, again. Last couple things here. How to be a relentless executor, but also have fun. Just go to find you find fun in the process, man. What the hell is more fun? What's more rewarding than accomplishing your biggest goals? What is more rewarding than accomplishing your biggest goals? What would give you more joy in your life? What would give you more happiness? Like, if you can't have fun doing that, something's wrong, bro. Ricardo asks about a business program I'm doing. I didn't plan on talking about this. I thought I'd mention it next week, but you guys are going to want to get involved. I have a business program that I'm going to do 2 live events. I'm going to do one in London. I'm going to do one in New York, and you're going to get more information about it. I don't know. Probably on next week's call, I could talk about it in more detail. But I'm going to make you guys a very special offer on that, only for the Brotherhood guys, not for the main audience. So if you're on Brotherhood Gold, if you're a Knights Tier member, you're going to come for free. And if you're on Brotherhood Gold, I'm going to give you a very discounted price on it that's not going to be available to the public at all. But I'll tell you more about it. But the bullet points are in the first weekend in March, I'm going to do, I think that's March 2nd and 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull up the calendar. Yeah, correct. And on March 2nd and 3rd in Manhattan, in New York, I'm going to do a talk there. Second talk is going to be in London 3 weeks later, which is going to be March 23rd and 24th. And what we're going to do is we're going to spend 2 days together. I'm not going to do this again. It's not going to be some digital program or something. Like, you're either going to show up live or you missed out on it. But what we're going to do is we're talking about the things. I'm going to spend 2 days breaking down all the things you learned in pickup. What are all the things that you learned in pickup, skills that you already have, and how do you use those things? How can we apply those things to help you get a raise, to help you get a promotion? How do we learn all the things, all the tools from pickup into business and into your career? How do you get a raise? How do you get a promotion? How do you become a better negotiator so you can get a bigger salary, the right title that you want? How do you transition into a different industry or a different employer that might pay you 50% or 100% more than you're currently making? And then obviously I'm going to touch on entrepreneurship because it's a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. is, how can I help you guys who are maybe you already have your own business or your own side business, and I could help you accelerate that and be fucking, take skills that you already have that you're just not thinking about how to fully utilize them. So I'll tell you guys more about it probably on our call next week. But for those of you serious about financial success, you're definitely going to want to be a part of that. How do you take the things you learn and pick up, skills you already have, and go monetize that shit and live a fucking more financially abundant lifestyle? Finally, Ryan here, getting an error code about the Knights tier. Let me get my tech guy here. Hey, buddy.
Yep.
So, gentleman's here says he's having an error code with the Knights tier. Can you take a look at that? And so first of all, that's going to be fixed, presumably very soon. Secondly, I'll get you a personal email, Ryan. I'll have Cameron here reach out to you, send you a personal email, and he can talk that through with you and see what makes sense. Maybe schedule a phone call with him and see if that's it's going to be a good fit that would meet Ryan's needs and make sure things are on point, and that he'd fit in with our group well, and it'd be a good contributor to what we're up to. Yeah, man, fucking love you guys. I got to fucking get ready and go see. We have clients. We have boot camp. It's New Year's week in Las Vegas. It's New Year's week in Las Vegas. Yeah, this is the best boot camp of the entire year. And man, we have so much fun. We're only 2 days in. We're here. It's a 5-day boot camp. It's the only 5-day boot camp I do all year. It only happens once a year. If that's something you're excited about, you should be. If it's not something you're excited about, it's like like you don't like fun. Like you hate fun. You hate love. You hate kittens. You hate puppies. Like, I don't know how you could not be excited, but we're gonna have a fantastic week. It's been great already. We got 3 more days of boot camp. It's fucking dope. And man, I hope this stuff is very useful. If you execute on this, not only I hope it's useful, if you execute on 15% of the things that we talked about today, if you listen to this again, take notes on it, execute on those things, you're going to have an absolutely fantastic 2020 and 2019 and 2020 and the rest of your fucking life. And I really appreciate you guys. I'm happy that you're here. Send any notes you have on how we can make things better on the platform. I'm down to the ones that make sense, the ones that are doable. We'll do it. And I want the fucking Brotherhood program to be fantastic. I want to be very valuable for you. I want it to be very valuable for me and my crew as well. I'm really excited to engage with you guys in the coming year. So much love. Get out there. It's fucking Saturday night. Go pimping. Find a fucking hot girl. Give her some romance. Put a baby in her tummy. Don't do that, but practice. Practice putting a baby in her tummy in case someday you might want to. Take care, guys.